today's class, we'll understand what is Python console. Python can be downloaded from python.org. So there is a website which is called as Python www.python.org. So you can go to that particular website and you can download Python based on the operating system. Okay, so in that particular website, there will be different versions of Python, and also there will be Python for different operating systems. You can download it and use it. Okay, so I'll make a detailed video on how to download Python, and so there are two ways in which your Python console comes in. The first one is the command line, and the second one is the IDLE. Okay, so what is command line is that, so generally what you do is you can use any of the editors. Okay, so the editors can be Notepad. Okay, so you can use the Notepad editor, simple Notepad or Notepad plus plus, or any of the editors you can use, or you can also use gedit like how you used in your labs in Ubuntu. So you can use any of the editors. So say that you are taking a Notepad. So uh, in the Notepad, what you generally do is, so I'll be telling you the ways in which you can write a program. So open the editor. So the editor that I have talked about is the Notepad. Okay, so on Notepad plus plus or your gedit or anything by fact. Okay, so whatever is there in your system, you can use that editor. And after that, in the Notepad, what you are doing is you are typing in your program. Okay, so finish typing in your program. So what you have to do is you will be saving the program. How do you save the program? You will be choosing a file name .py. How do you need to choose the file name? So you are already programmers. You already know how to program in C. So you know how to choose a file name. Okay, should always start with a character. Okay, and then you're giving .py. Py stands for, like, it will be telling that this indicates this extension. .py extension will tell that the program you have written is a Python program. Okay, so after you have saved the program, so say that you have saved it in a particular location. Okay, so location in your computer. Okay, so it can be the C drive or it can be any of the location. Okay, so the location is very important here. Okay, so you can create your own directory and save it in that directory, but the location, you to execute the Python program, you should go to that particular location. Okay, so change the directory in which your program is saved, because your Python interpreter need to know exactly what you are talking about. So it should be able to find the file to execute it. So if you are not in the directory that the file is, then your interpreter cannot locate it. Okay, so it is important that you are in the directory in which your program is saved. So after that, you will be running the interpreter with the command. So the command is Python space, then followed by the name of the program with .py extension. So once you do this, what happens is you will be getting the result. It will execute it line by line. At whatever line it encounters an error, it will show you. Okay, so if it is showing you an error without the result, then it means that there are some bugs in your program. You need to fix them, and then again you have to re-execute it by using the Python space file name. Okay, so this program can be executed in two ways. The first one is like using the command line. Okay, so in the command line, so what you will be using, you will be saying Python space the name of the file name. And the second way to execute your program, this is what I have discussed in the features of Python, wherein I said Python is interactive. Okay, so IDLE, which is called as Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Okay, so it is similar to IDE. Okay, so wherein you can, you no need to give a name to the lines of code that you have written. So say for example, your lines are very few. Okay, so you have very few lines of code to be tested. You just wanted to know whether what will be the result of few lines. Okay, so that's why it is called as learning environment. Okay, so you can just simply type these three lines and then click on the return key or the enter key, and it will show you the result. Okay, so this contains this IDLE, which is also called as idle. Okay, so is the shell window and an interactive. It contains a shell window and an interactive interpreter. Okay, so as soon as you click on the return, you don't need to type that Python and space and the file name and all that. Simply you just need to click on the enter key. Okay, so as soon as you click on the enter key, what does it do is it will show you the result. Okay, so if there are any errors, it will show you the errors, else it will just simply give you the result. Okay, so this is regarding the Python console. Okay, so and the topic like writing Python programs. Okay, you also have online editors. Okay, for there are students who do not have laptops or PCs at home, you can also use online editors. Okay, so don't worry, nothing can stop you from learning. Okay, so you can also use online editors to actually write your programs, because we are just beginners, we are just learning the basics of the programming as of now. So online editors or simple editors will do the work for you. Okay, so you can simply download online. Okay, so if you're having internet, you can simply use this online editors. Else, if you're having PCs and laptops at home, I advise you to actually download this Python based on your operating system. There will be Python for Windows, there will be Python for Mac, there will be Python for Linux and all that. And also the operating system, whether it is 32-bit addressing or 64-bit addressing, based on that, the Python versions will be available for you. My programming, the editors that I prefer is Notepad++. Why? It's like I don't prefer IDEs as of now, because we generally we don't develop an application. We are just checking on different concepts of the programming language. So when you do that, I think this Notepad++ a is a simple editor which will give lot of space for you for your coding. Okay, so if you just look into IDEs, what happens is like your NetBeans or whatever. So the IDEs look so congested. Like there will be so many options for you that the space for your coding will be very small. Okay, so there will be only little space for you to code, and the rest of the IDE will be occupied with lot of other things. And I feel it like many other things will be here, and only little space will be here for you to actually write your code. And in Notepad++, there will be a lot of space for you to write, and you won't be distracted with the other features. So I generally prefer Notepad for my coding. Okay, so it's not like you just have to follow me, but I'm just giving you my piece of experience. It is literal. Okay, so now coming to literals. Okay, so there literal is a constant. So I gave you certain definitions over here. The word literal is derived from literally. Okay, so which means literally it is a constant. Okay, so which means that number 10 is 10. That's it. It's nothing else other than that. Okay, so if I say 9, 9 is 9. It is nothing other than that. But if I'm saying A, okay, so A can hold any of the value. So A is not A. Okay, so A can hold any of the values. Okay, so that's a reason why it is called as a literal. So to give you two definitions, literal is a visible way to write a value. Okay, so value is nothing but the constant, and literals are notations for representing. So another definition. So this is definition 2. Literals are a notation for representing a fixed value in the source code. Okay, so wherein it is used to represent the fixed value in the source code. Say for example, I'm saying A is equal to 5. Okay, so just try to understand that A is a variable. Okay, so but 5 is a constant, or 5 is a literal over here. Okay, A can later on in the program, so later on in the program, A can take another constant also. Like if it is an auto variable, it can take another variable as well. So I'm saying A is equal to 7. So in this particular line of code, the value of A is 5, and in this particular line of code, the value of A is 7. So that's why A is considered to be a variable. Okay, so it keeps on varying. Okay, so it keeps on changing throughout the program. Whatever value you keep assigning it, or it can take a value from the computations that you perform in the logic. Okay, so that is what is called as a variable. But when you come to the constant over here, this 5 over here, this 5 is 5. You cannot say 5 is equal to 6. It's wrong. Okay, so 5 is 5 in itself. So these are called as the constants. Okay, so 7 is a constant. Now, based on the different data types, the literals have got its own range. Okay, so we in here in this particular topic we'll be studying about different data types literals. Okay, so what are the permissible literals and what are not the permissible literals, and what are the mistakes that you generally make while giving the literals to a variable. So all that things we'll be discussing in this particular concept. As I said, number 10 is 10 itself. Okay, so 10 is a constant that because its value cannot change. That is a literal constant. So here in the programming, whenever you say A is equal to 5 or F is equal to 32.2 or whatever, okay, so the thing that cannot change or the value that you assign to your variable is nothing but a literal. And based on the value, the literal will be there. Okay, so based on the data type, the literal will be there. Now, examples of literals are 10 is a literal, which is an integer literal. So that's what is the concept I'm going to discuss. Next is 2.5. 2.5, okay, so wherein you have some number and some precision over here, some decimal value. And A is a character. So A put in single quotes. This is what is the notation that you have seen in your C programming. So you saw that character is also a data type in C programming, but in Python, you don't have this kind of character data type. Okay, so everything is string over here. Even if it is a single character, it is considered to be a string. So that is another difference that you can find in programming languages when comparing with C. Okay, so A put in single quotes. Okay, so it's called as a character literal. For you to understand, I'm saying that it's a character literal. And some collection of characters. Okay, so grouping of the characters together, and we call that as a string. And string always need to be put in double quotes. Okay, so this is what is the notation we have seen, and I hope everybody can understand this and connect it to it because you already know C programming. Okay, right. So this is what is called as a literal. A literal is a constant value that is assigned to a variable. Now let us look into what are the literals which are associated with the numerical values. Okay, so literal numbers. So numbers refers to numeric values. 4 types of numbers in Python are there. Okay, so the first one is integers, second one is long integers, third one is float, and the fourth one is complex numbers. Okay, so you can also represent complex numbers in Python. So let us look into each and every one. Okay, so coming to what is meant by an integer literal and float and all that, we'll see in here in this particular slide. So whole numbers are integers, like there wouldn't be any decimal point, there won't be any point and then followed by some values after it. Okay, so it will be a whole number. So whole numbers are integers, like example 101 is a whole number and it is an integer, 19 is a whole number, even the negative values. Okay, so use 289 is also an integer. Right. Okay. Numbers can be small and also big. Just do not have a size over here in Python. Okay, so it just takes the numbers. And a big whole number, okay, so are called as long integers in Python. So say for example, a number which is very long. So if you are having a number which is long like this, you have to suffix it. Okay, so what I did, I have added a L over here. Now, is it like I need to add a lowercase only? No, you can add an uppercase L or you can add a lowercase L. This terminology is there in Java also. Okay, so in Java also, if you want to represent a long int, you have to add an L at the end of the literal. Okay, so here the literal is 5, 3 and all this long integer. And at the end of this long integer, you're adding an L and all that. Okay, so this is your long integer. So you have to suffix it with an L or lowercase L or uppercase L. Now coming to the floating point literals. Okay, so the literals means that it will be having a number followed by some precision. Okay, so there will be a decimal and then followed by the decimal there will be an precision. Okay, so numbers like 3.14. Okay, so and numbers like this which means that E here represents 10. Okay, so it means that 28.7 into 10 raised minus 2. Okay, so this number represents that. Okay, so 28.7 into 10 raised minus 2. Okay, so E always represents 10 over here. Are floating point numbers. Okay, so this is the floating point. Now coming to the complex numbers. Complex numbers take this form. Okay, so which will be A plus BI. Also simply say 8J and all that. So so these are complex numbers. Now what's in the literals? Okay, so you cannot say this, you already know. Okay, so while representing a number, while assigning a number to a variable, so you generally don't put a comma. Okay, so we don't put a comma. Okay, for example, this 5 comma this 5 6 7, because we are used to this kind of number system like Indian number system and the American number system and all that, British number system and all that, wherein they say millions and we say lakhs. Okay, so we are used to put this particular comma and all that over here. So please do not put that comma. It's not allowed in programming. Okay, so there is no limit for the size of integers, and that, for example, for in case of floating points, maybe I will be having 8 digits precision. In double, what I will have is I'll have more than that. Okay, so I'll have 16 digits as precision. Okay, so that is what is called as this floating and double data types. Okay, right. Some of the errors that you encounter while doing some arithmetics with the literals. Okay, so the first one is arithmetic overflow. Okay, so the first one is arithmetic overflow. When does this occur? Okay, so this occurs when a calculated result is too large in size to represent. Okay, so when you have too large size to represent, the result is too large to represent, then you will be getting an arithmetic overflow, and the arithmetic overflow is represented with an infinity, that is INF. Okay, so which is represented with an INF. Okay, right. And when does this arithmetic overflow condition occur? So this condition will occur when you are trying to multiply large numbers. Okay, so when you try to multiply, okay, so multiplication always increases the size, right? So when you are trying to multiply two large numbers, okay, so this kind of output you will be getting, which cannot be represented. Okay, so there is no way to represent such kind of numbers. Okay, so say you're having a number which is a is equal to 3.7 into 10 to the power of 200. Okay, so and then I'm having 1.5 into 10 to the power of 200. So this is very large number. Okay, so when you try to multiply this, okay, so and try to print the result, you'll be getting an infinitive. Okay, and you can also see the code that I have written. I have written 3 lines of code. Okay, so if you want to write the same 3 lines of code in C programming, what should I do? This is the entire code that I have written in Python. That's it. Okay, so this is the code that I have written in Python, nothing else other than this. If you have to write the same lines in C programming, what should you do? The first thing is like you need to include your header file. So I'm saying hash include header file and all that. Then after that, what I have to do, I have to write the main method. Okay, so then what I have to do, then after the main method, I have to declare the variables. Okay, so since these are very big and they are floating, okay, so say, okay, for say I have a float because these are floating points. So I'm saying float, and then I'm saying A is equal to, I can do the declaration and initialization at the same place. Okay, so I'm saying B is equal to, and I am declaring something. Okay, so comma petty, I have to put all this. And then I am saying float C is equal to, or else you can simply say comma C and then a semicolon. See, I have so much of syntax, and then what I'm doing, and then in the next step, I will be doing a arithmetic operation. So what I'll do, so I have to say C is equal to, okay, so C is equal to A into, okay, so I'm saying A into B, and then what I have to do, and again I have to write a printf statement. Then I have to write a printf statement. Inside the printf statement, I have to use this conversions. Okay, so I have to say double quotes, then this percentage F, okay, and then I have to say, okay, comma C and all that. And after writing this code, what I have to do? Okay, so this is the entire code that you have to write in C. And if I forgot a semicolon or if I forget some open bracket, then there is a problem. That's a syntax error. And then what I have to do? I have to use compiler. So EDS. Okay, so then I have to do the compilation and then execute the program. So this is what I'll have to do in C programming. But see how compact the size of the code is in Python. I am just saying no worry of this semicolons, nothing. I just can write it in whatever form I want. Okay, so and arithmetic underflow are the conditions, okay, that occur when there is no way to represent the result. Okay, so these, you don't have a representation for the number internally in the number system, then you'll get this arithmetic underflow and overflow. Okay, right. Overflow is a condition that will be occurring when you are actually multiplying two very large numbers. Okay, now this underflow condition occurs when you are trying to divide. Okay, so when you're trying to divide two numbers. Okay, so this is a number. Okay, so two numbers which I'm trying to divide. I'm saying A divided by B. What happened is there is an answer that I get, but since there is no way to represent such two small number, so the answer that I'll be getting is 0.0. Okay, so whenever you try to divide numbers, and be very careful, if you're getting 0.0, you really think like why you got this 0.0. Okay, maybe I'm having number which is 3.58. Okay, so if I have to round this, okay, so maybe I'm saying I just want one letter after the one precision value, so maybe I can say 3.6. Okay, so this conversion, okay, so this conversion of we call this as sealing the number, right? So wherein I am rounding it to the upper number, so this kind of conversion may not, this kind of seal or this kind of floor of a particular number may not make much difference in your application, but for the scientific applications and all that, this point not one also will make a difference. So when you are using such kind of applications, when you are using this kind of applications, so you need to be very careful with this arithmetic underflow and arithmetic overflow. Clear? Maybe it's not relevant to the applications that you develop, but for some applications, these are very relevant. To the next point. Okay, so coming to loss of precision. Okay, so this is what I have explained to you right now. Okay, so loss of precision, for example, I'm dividing 1 by 3. We all know that 1 divided by 3 will give me some, this 0.33, and this continues, right? This continues. Okay, so there won't be any end to it. Okay, now so on, it continues. Okay, so 3 is continues like this. Now, how many do you have here? Can somebody count this and tell me how many threes you got as an answer? How many threes you have got here? Yes?
16.
16. Okay, so you got 16. It's a double precision. Okay, so you have got 16. Okay, so it's a double precision. And if you get 8, it is float. Okay, right. So you got 16 over here. So the result is approximation of the answer. Okay, so the result is that there are still more threes over here. But what it did, it has actually approximated the answer and stopped it over here. Okay, so again, I am repeating the same point that it may not be relevant for you for some applications. The rest of the threes may not be relevant for you, but in some applications, maybe this after this the threes again, which are after this 16 value. Okay, so after this 16 precisions, maybe the 17th C 3 value is also important for you. Okay, so this loss of precision you just need to understand, and you have to be careful with this loss of precision when you're developing some scientific applications. Okay, right. And the next is like built-in format function. Okay, so this built-in format function, will actually round the results. Okay, so it will actually round the results. Say for example, I'm saying print 16 by 3. Okay, so what happens, I am getting a very big answer like this. Okay, so I think there are still more threes, but it has, we had a loss of precision, it is printing 16 threes over here, which is a double precision. Okay, now say that you don't want all these threes to be printed, you just want it, you just want one precision, or you just want 2, or you want 3. Okay, so that you can decide by using the format function. Okay, so how do I use a format function? Yes, of course, it's a function. So function with parentheses. Okay, so always remember that functions will be having parentheses, and functions can take arguments. Okay, so function can take arguments. Okay, so what are the two arguments that this function is taking? The two arguments this function is taking is, the first argument is the operation. Okay, so there is a binary operation which is a division operation between two numbers over here. So the first one is the operation, and then followed by, okay, so there is a comma, so it is taking two arguments, the first argument comma, and the second argument is how much precision do you want. Okay, so you need to specify the decimal places. Okay, so I want how many decimal places? I want 3 decimal places. So I just mentioned here like 0.3f. Okay, so when I mentioned this, what happened is I just got 3 values over here. Okay, so just if I give 0.2f, it will just give me 2 values. It will say 5.33. Okay, so you can use this format function to actually reduce the size of the decimal places that need to be printed in the result. Okay, clear with what is numbers. Okay, so what are the operations that you can perform on the numbers? So you already know, so we have a plus. Okay, so you can perform subtraction, you can perform, okay, so multiplication, okay, you can perform division, you can perform modulus. Okay, so you can perform all these operations that you already know from the C programming. You can perform all these operations on the numbers even in Python. Okay, so I can simply say 5 plus 7 rather than declaring it into a variable. No need to say like, if you have to write addition of two numbers in C programming, then again you have to do the same thing. You have to say int a is equal to 5, b is equal to 7, or else you can directly do it in the printf statement also, or else you can declare it to be variables. Okay, if you want to reuse the program again and again, then you have to use the scanf to read in the values from the user and ask the user to enter a and b and then do the addition and give the result. But here, by using the interactive IDLE, you can simply type in 5 plus 7 and it will give you the result. Okay, so press an enter key and it will give you the result. Or else you can also write a program. Okay, so you can check in over here, because since this is a simple arithmetic operation, I have done it in the shell. Else you can also write a program. Okay, so program like expression. Okay, so expression is an arithmetic statement which will be having all these operators, okay, in it. And so this is an arithmetic expression. So I'm saying 100 plus 56 minus 32 and all that. So the result I get is 124. And then I'm saying 12 into 12. So this is a multiplication operation that I have performed, which is a binary operation. So I need two numbers over here. And then I'm dividing it. Okay, so I'm saying 88 divided by 12. So this is a division operation. I want all of you to take a note of this division operation. So what happens here is, the result that I am getting is 7.333 and all that. But you can observe that 88 is an integer. Okay, so 88 over here is an integer, and 12 is also an integer. You got is in float. Okay, so the result that you got is in float. Okay, so what happens in Python is that, okay, so dividing two integers will produce a float in Python. Okay, so remember that the answer. So what happened here is, the implicit conversion takes place. You don't need to do integers. The result will be a float. Okay, even minus 2 into 5 and then plus and 100. Now, what did I do over here is, I have used this parenthesis to actually give some priority to the numbers. Okay, to some expressions. Okay, to some expressions. For example, say that I'm having an expression 5 plus 2. Then I'm saying into. Okay, so into, and then I'm saying some 3 and all that. Okay. So according to the evaluation of the operators, so this is an expression. Generally, star is given higher priority than plus. Okay, so division and multiplication are given higher priority than addition and subtraction and all that. So when so what happens is, this 2 into 3 happens first. Okay, so and later on it will add to 7. Okay, so this is what will happen. So this expression, this part of the expression will execute first. Okay, so this will execute first and this will execute later. So the result will be added to this. So I get a result R, and this result R will be added to 5 over here. But say sometimes you have got to violate, okay, priorities. Okay, so priorities of the operators. Okay, so priority of the operations can be bypassed. Okay, so how can you bypass this? You can simply use parentheses. I can say 5 if I want this expression to happen first. Okay, so what will be the answer if it is taking this? So it will be 2 into 3, which will give me a 6. 6 plus 5, which will give me a 11, right? So that will be the answer. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the answer will be, if it is a normal evaluation of the expression, the answer will be 11. Okay, but now here I'm changing the order in which the expressions, the operators should evaluate. So first, when I have put this parenthesis, what happens is this expression will evaluate first. So 5 plus 2 happens, which is equal to 7. Okay, so 7 into 3, which is 21. So here I am changing it. So the answer will be 21. So there is the way in which the operations take place inside an expression actually affect your result. Okay, so whenever you're writing your expressions, you should be very careful because the result will vary. Okay, so the way in which the operators evaluate themselves, the result will vary. And if you want an operator with the lower priority to execute first, over the higher priority operator, you'll be using parentheses, which you already know, 8 divided by 0 and all that. In Python, what happens is you'll get a answer which is, you'll get a error which says 0 division error. Okay, so divide by 0 is not allowed and it is an error. Okay, right. And operations on numbers, we'll see more operations over here. Now, for you can actually add in the previous case, so you can add two kinds. Like here, the 4 is of type integer and 9.2 is of type float. Okay, so what happened is there is an integer and there is a float. Okay, so when there is an integer and float, it internally converts to the highest data type. Okay, so here the highest data type is float. So the output is also, the result is also converted to the highest data type. And here the highest data type is float. So it will give me a float result. Okay, so this is what we call it as implicit conversion. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now next coming to 3 into 5. Okay, so 3 into 5 is giving me 15. Now I'm saying 2 into 3.0. Okay, so I just added this 0.0. Okay, so if I simply say 2 into 3, it will give me 6. But I added a 0.0 over here. When I added a 0.0 over here, what is happening is this 3.0 is considered to be a float. So integer into float, it will give me a float. So this is what we are saying as type coercion. Okay, so implicit conversion or type coercion. Okay, right. You can also say that this is what is called as widening concept. Okay, what happens is the lower data type widening. Okay, so you call it as widening concept, wherein the lowest data type will be converted to the highest data type. Okay, so or else you can talk it as implicit conversion or automatic conversion, or you can also say it as type coercion. Okay, so this is what happens when you perform operations on two numbers. Okay, so apart from the operators that we have seen, like plus, division, multiplication, and all that, so there are other operations, like I said, modulus. Okay, so modulus is there in your C programming as well. It's there here in Python also. And also you have another operator which is 2 slashes. Okay, so which actually give you the quotient. Now you might be wondering, when I say 8 divided by 2 or whatever, so what happens? I get the quotient only, no? When I say 8 divided by 2, what do I get? Do I get the quotient or I get the remainder? What do I get?
Quotient, ma'am.
I get the quotient. Okay, so but I am saying that 10 this quotient. Okay, so double slashes 2 gives me a quotient unto nano. Now, can anybody tell me what is the difference between this double slash and single slash? So the single slash also will give me a result which is a quotient, and I'm saying double slash will also give me a quotient. Now, what is the difference between these two is, okay, so this quotient,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
double,
Single slash gives you float.
Yes, yeah, absolutely correct. Okay, so this will actually give me an integer. Okay, so if the answer is some 4.2 and all that, it will just give me the integer value. Okay, right. So that is what is the use of this particular operator. Okay, so sometimes you want only that number, you don't want the decimal values. So in that cases, you'll be using this. Did you understand the difference between slash and a double slash, everybody?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yes, now you need all this in your programming. Okay, so maybe to solve certain applications, you might need them. Okay, for example, you will be using this modulus to actually reverse the numbers, integer. If, for example, I have a number, so they have got their usage. Okay, so say for example, I'm having a number which is 428, and the question is like reverse this integer. Okay, so reverse this number. So how do you reverse? The logic is like I need to extract this last number. Okay, so this last number I can extract it by using a modulus operator. Okay, so I can actually get this. Okay, right. Reminder has got its own applications. Okay, so for reversing of the numbers and many other things. Okay, so for finding out the factorial of a number, or to find the prime numbers, okay, to check whether a given number is prime or not. So many applications it has got. It is a very useful operator that we generally have in programming. Okay, so 12 mod 2 will give the reminder which is 0. Okay, so 15 mod 4 is giving me a reminder over here. Okay, so this is how it gives us, right? Okay, so you can see here 12.4. As I said, like it just gives me the number. Okay, so only the whole part. Okay, so it's just giving 0.0. It doesn't give this value. Okay, so this modulus will give me. Okay, so everything as a reminder. Whatever is there as reminder, it will give. Okay, so that's the difference between the quotient and reminders, and single slash and double slash. Okay. So moving on to another operator that is available in Python, which is exponential operator. Okay, so exponential operator, what is the symbol? Okay, so this is the symbol. Okay, 2 stars. Okay, so when there is a single asterisk, the single asterisk represents multiplication. This double asterisk denotes an exponent, that is rising of one number to the power of another. Okay, so say for example, I have 2 power 3. Okay, so here the power is 3. So to represent 2 power 3, what I will do is I'll say 2. Okay, so followed by 2 stars, and then I will give a 3. Okay, so this is how I represent in programming. So when I say 5 2 stars 2, it means that it is 5 power 2. Okay, so 5 power 2 is equal to 5 into 2, 25. So I got the result as 5 into 5, 25. Okay, right. In the similar way, I can represent even floating points in exponential. Okay, so whenever you have such kind of number, okay, so you'll be representing it, and the power will be on the right side of the exponential operator, and the base will be on the left side of the exponential. So 2 is considered to be the base, and this is considered to be the power. The power will be on the right side of the exponential operator. So this is regarding exponential operator. Okay, so now coming to the string literals. Okay, so till now we have seen all the numerical literals. So we have seen certain operators also, plus division and all that. And now we'll look into the string literals. A string is nothing but group of characters. Okay, so we already know this because we have seen strings. C has got a huge string manipulation functions. You have strcat, str length, okay, string length, then you have so many things. You have string comparison operators, so you have good string library. Okay, so in C programming, so you know what is a string over there, but the thing is in C programming, it's a character array, right? Okay, so string literal can be created by writing a text that is a group of characters, and it represents a text. Okay, what does the string represent? A string represents a text. So there are 3 ways to represent a string. Okay, so in C programming, if you have to represent its text in C programming, what do? You put it in double quotes, right? So if you just have to say hello, so what you do, you will say hello, you will be putting it in double quotes. Okay, so this is the syntax that you need to follow if you're putting in C programming. But here in Python, what you have is you have got 3 sets of quotations, okay, that are supported in Python. The first quote is the single quote. Okay, so I can say like hello. So hello is a string which is collection of characters or group of characters, and I can put this in single quotes. Okay, so this is permissible and valid in Python programming, but you can connect it with C programming. In C, this is a syntax error. Okay, now coming to the double quotes is also valid. This is taken from the other programming languages. In every other programming languages, double quotes is valid. This is also valid in Python. Okay. Now coming to the third kind of quotes, which is triple quotes. These triple quotes are single quotes given 3 times. Okay. So these triple quotes are the single quotes given 3 times. And what is the difference between the single, double, and the triple quotes? The single and double quotes are used to represent strings in a single line. Okay, so they are used to represent a string in a single line. Okay, so in a single line. Now I want the quotes, I want the text to be in multi-line. Okay, so when I want the text to be in multi-line, as you can see, I have written here multi-line example. So I can give the 3 quotes. Okay, when I give the 3 quotes, what happens is I can type the text here and how many ever lines I can type. And finally, I have to close it with the 3 quotes. Okay, so these are the 3 quotes that are permissible in Python. Okay, so the first one is a single quote, second one is double quotes, and the third one is triple quotes. Is it clear, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now coming to the examples. So let us look into some of the examples wherein I have used the single quotes, double quotes, and I have shown you the output. Okay, so this is the code that I have written. So this is the entire code that I have written. So this is a Python program. So first thing I did is I said A is equal to Sudha, wherein I have put it in single quotes. Next, I have said B is equal to Sudha. I have put it in double quotes. Okay, and I have taken another variable which is C. C is equal to, so you can see here that I have put 3 single quotes and I have written whatever I want in multi lines. Okay, so but with the double quotes you cannot do that. It will show you a syntax error. Okay, so I said this is Sudha's Python class, and at this line I have closed it with 3 single quotes. And now I have used a method which is output method, so which is print method. So the print method should be followed by, since it is a method, so you need parentheses. Okay, so inside the parentheses I have given the variable names that I need to print on the screen. So I said A comma B comma C. Okay, so when I did this, what happened when I interpreted this particular line of code? Okay, so this is the entire code that I have written. Okay, so this is the entire line of code I have written, and when I have interpreted this, you can see, girls, like I am getting the first string. Okay, so followed by the second string, followed by the third string, and there is a space between the first string and the second string, and the second string and the third string also there is space. And as I have written in multiple lines, the output also I got it in multiple lines. So I said this is Sudha's Python class, so I got this as the output. So this is how you can use the strings in your program. Is this lines of code clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let us look into some other lines of code. Okay, so I have written, so I have said inside the print also I can use a string. Okay, so strings can be written. That's what we are doing, right? We are in your printf statement also you're writing inside the double quotes, you're writing whatever you want to be displayed to the user. You'll be writing in the printf statement in your C programming. That is actually valid. Here, rather than saying printf, we are just saying print. Okay, so then I'm saying hi. I have put it in double quotes. Okay, and then in the next line I have put 3 quotes and I said hello. This is also valid, and I can put it in single quotes also. That is also valid. Okay, and then I have put some placeholders over here. So I just have this kind of print statements can be used as placeholders. Okay. So in case if you want some lines to be skipped, you can actually use them. Okay. So they're used as placeholders. Okay. Right. And what I did, I have given print and then I have given a print over here. All this is valid. I just wanted to show you that this is not wrong. Okay. So this is valid. So I just have written it. And then I have a welcome wherein you can see that I have put double quotes, I have put triple quotes and all that I have put in the code. And I have given the string inside your print function. Okay, so when I try to execute this, what it will do is it will say hi from the first print and then hello from the second print. And then you can see there are three placeholders here. And then it is giving me welcome. Okay, so this is what it has happened. And you can see that I have put after this double quotes, I have put some single quotes. Okay, so I have put single quotes and it is taking this double quotes to be the starting of the string. So it will search for the double quotes only. Okay, so since the double quotes are here, so it will consider the single quotes and hello to be the string. So it has given me single quote and then hello. And in the similar way here, there is a single quote and then double quote. So what it will do is it will consider the first string to be the string, I mean to represent the string, and then it is giving me welcome with the double quotes in it. So this is all what is inbuilt with the programming program language. So you just have to learn what exactly it gives the output. So this is how it gives the output for you. Okay. So I hope this is clear.
Ma'am,
Yes.
in previous case, when you have given the string in the form of variables and printed with single print statement, it has printed side by side. No, ma'am. Now it's printed in next line.
Because this is in the, it's in different print statements, ma. Because this is in different print statements. It's not in a single print statement, right? Did you get my point? Yeah, yeah. That's the reason why it is giving in different lines. Okay. Right. So shall I go to the to be a new line? Okay. So /n is considered new line means that I want the output to go into the next line. Whatever is following this new line, I want that to be printed in the next line. Okay. So first what happened is hi is printed and then I gave a new line. So here I'm giving it in the same print statement. In the previous case, what I did, I have given it in different print statements. That's why everything has got in different lines. But here, rather than writing in different print statements, what I'm doing is I have written in the single print statement wherein I have given n/n over here. When I have given, what happens is this first print will give the welcome girls, and then in this second print, if there is no /n over here, it will give me hi hello. But since I gave an escape sequence over here, which is print hello in the new line, whatever is following after this new line will be printed in the next line. So it is saying hi and hello. Okay, fine. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so next is how can you print without using the print function? Okay, so you can use the interactive mode of Python. You can use the interactive mode of Python to actually print without using a print statement. Okay, so or print function. Okay, but provided that you have to put it in single quotes. So say here in the interactive mode of Python, I said hello, but I didn't put it in single quotes. So that's why it is saying that hello is not defined and it is giving me a syntax error. But if you just wanted to print hello and you want the interactive mode to actually consider it as a string, you can give it in single quotes and it will just repeat whatever you're typing. Okay, so herein I said hello, put it in double quotes, but still it is giving me in single quotes. Okay, so considering in your whatever you want in an interactive mode without using the print. Next interview question. So this is a very important interview table. Immutable when the object's internal state is not changed. Okay, so when you cannot change the object's internal state, then it is called as immutable. Say for example, so here the object is str1. Okay, so here the object is str1. Maybe it is very new for you to hear the word which is called as object because you come from procedural programming background. But just try to understand that str1 is considered to be an object over here. Okay, so what I did, I said str1 is equal to hello. Okay, so this is the string that I am considering over here. So let me take another color. Okay, so this hello is the string over here which I have assigned to this particular object. Okay, so what is the object over here? The object is str1, and I have assigned the string to this particular object. Okay, so now str in the memory, this str is actually pointing to this value. Okay, so this is the string pool inside the memory. So inside the string pool, all the constants that you have declared, the string literals will be there in the string pool. Okay, fine. Hello is also there is in the string pool which is there in your memory. Now str1 is the object. Okay, so str is the one is the object which is pointing to this. Now coming to the next case, what I did is I said str2 is equal to str1 plus Python. Okay, so generally what you will be thinking is, you might think that here itself it will be adding this Python. Okay, so here itself it will add Python, and you might think that this str1 will go off and str2 will point to this. Okay, so this is what generally students think. Okay, so generally many of us think, not only students who are who don't know about the concept of immutable thing, they generally think it in this way. Okay, so what they think is, they think that str1 is equal to hello. You cannot add a constant hello is there, and you want to add one more character to this hello. Say you are saying str1 is equal to hello, and in the next step you are saying str1 is equal to, so I am saying str1 is equal to, so I am saying hello plus I am saying girls. Okay, so say I am saying girls. So you might think that this hello is manipulated by adding girls over here and str still points to this. No, that is not the concept. If that happens, it means that it is mutable and immutable. Is it clear or not? Everybody?
Yes,
Clear,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, what is immutable? What is immutable?
The object cannot be changed.
The object cannot be changed. Okay, so when I say str1 is equal to hello plus girls in the next time, what happens is a new object will be created. Okay, so new object will be created. So there won't be any modifications that will be done to hello. Hello will be still as it is like this. Okay, so another variable will be, another constant string literal will be created, which is hello girls. And what happens, since I assigned it to str1, so str1 will now point to this one. Okay, so this str1 will point to this one. So this won't be having any references. So since there is no reference to this particular string literal, this is eligible for garbage collection. So I have already told you what is meant by garbage collection. If any of the values inside your memory are not referenced, I said unreferenced objects. Okay, so when there is something like this, this is what is called as unreferenced objects. So this object is not having a reference. Okay, so str1, because str1 is now pointing to hello girls. So since this hello is now not referenced by any of the object, now hello will be recycled. Okay, so hello will be considered for garbage collection, and your PVM will actually recycle this memory, give it to something else. Okay, right. So that is what is called as mutable and immutable. Mutable objects are something wherein you can change the values. Okay, so for example, when I say hello plus girls, I already said string 1 is equal to hello, and then I am saying in the next step I am saying str1 is equal to hello plus girls. What happens is there will be change with this hello itself, and these girls will be added and str1 will be pointing to that. That is mutable, wherein you can add characters to it and remove characters from it. Happily you can do that. Okay, but when coming to strings, immutable means that you cannot, once you have given a value to a particular object, you cannot add a character, you cannot remove a character from that particular value. Okay, so that is called as immutable. And why strings are immutable in Python is a very, very important question. Okay, interview question. It's an interview question. Okay, so immutable strings have got many advantages, like they give security, they're thread safe. Okay, so many advantages are there when strings are considered to be immutable. Okay, so this is one point like we just need to remember pertaining to strings, string literals. Okay, so string literal concatenation. Okay, so how can you concatenate a string? Okay, so you can use this concatenation symbol. Okay, so plus you can use. Okay, and so this kind of concatenation is also possible in Java. So I have the first string. So this is hello girls, and then I have this concatenation symbol, and I have given some 4 dots over here. Then I gave a concatenation symbol, and then I am saying to my class. Okay, so when I say this, so I'll be getting this as the output. Okay, and also without using this concatenation symbol, which is plus, you can also use something like this. I am simply saying hello girls. I have put it in double quotes, and I said this is Sudha's class. Okay, so this is Sudha, and I welcome you to my class. So that's what I wanted to write here. Okay, so this is Sudha, and I welcome you to my class. So I have given this in single quotes, and then I have followed the other string to my class to be in double quotes. So however I give, the string will be concatenated. Okay, so it means that it will just consider this and this double quotes, and everything will be printed on the screen for you. Okay, right. So this is string literal concatenation. Now coming to the Unicode concept. Okay, so what is Unicode? Unicode is a specification. It is similar to your ASCII code. Okay, so you already have studied ASCII code in your C programming. All the characters that you see in C programming are related to the codes in the ASCII set. Okay, so ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So this is a character set. ASCII is a character set. In the similar way, Unicode is also a character set, but much bigger character set. Okay, so ASCII code do not have all the characters that the human speak, but Unicode is a character set that will have all the characters that the humans speak. For example, in today's interactive online applications that you are seeing, there will be certain messages. Okay, so say you have opened a website, and therein say you want to access your bank account. Okay, so whatever. Okay, so what there will be an option there which will be like language selection. Okay, so something will be here, like it will ask you to select the language. So there will be many languages that it will display. Like it will say, do you want to do the transaction in Telugu? I mean, you want the interaction, okay, so between the bank application and you to be in Telugu, or you want the interaction between the banking application and you to be in French or Spanish or whatever it is, okay, Hindi, or that kind of language selection you can make whenever you use a web application. So how do you think that the code that you have written, okay, so whatever messages that are displayed to the user, in case if he is selecting Telugu, what happens is the information that the person can see will be displayed in Telugu. Okay, so each and every character is converted into a Telugu character. So all the languages that the humans speak will be there in this Unicode, and Java also uses Unicode for its character representation. So Unicode is a specification that aims to list every character used by human languages and give each character its own unique code. Each and every character will be having its own Unicode. That's the reason in C programming, for character, you will be having only 1 byte. Okay, so you'll be representing a character in C programming with 1 byte, because ASCII character set can fit in it. Okay, so in 1 byte, ASCII characters, all the ASCII characters can fit in it. But now coming to the Unicode, the variety of applications that Java can produce and the Python can produce, they need more languages to be represented in their applications, like the selection of the language option and all that. And ASCII code will not serve the need for them. So that's the reason Java have shifted to Unicode, wherein the size of the character will be 2 bytes, because 1 byte will not be sufficient, because there are so many characters that are there in the Unicode that 1 byte cannot accommodate. Now, Python string types uses the Unicode standard for representing characters, which lets Python program work with all these different possible characters. Okay, so I gave you an example also where you will be needing this Unicode. For example, there is an error message that you want to display, and that error message you want to display in the local language of the user or the selected language of the user. So say I want to get the error message, like I can't read English and I want to use an application in my local language, I can do that by selecting this local language options. Okay, so wherein the characters will be converted, all the Unicode characters will be of this Unicode character set will have all the languages that humans are speaking, and it is keeping updating it Unicode character set to the more languages and more symbols. I just wanted to give you one example wherein the Unicode symbol for representing I in Telugu character is 0C05. Okay, so the Telugu characters start in Unicode from this particular code, which is 0C05. And you have to prefix it with /u. Okay, so whenever you prefix it with /u, it will understand that it is an Unicode. Okay, so you also have to give before the character. Okay, so before the character, you have to give u also. Okay, so when you do this, this is a syntax for printing a character in a particular local language. So what happens is I'll get an output which is equivalent. So in the Unicode character set, 0C05 is representing R there. Okay, so what happens? It will print R for me on the screen. So this is Unicode. You can print whatever you want. You want to print Amma, you can print it by using the Unicode sets over here. You can print Amma also. You can print whatever you want. Any error message that you want, you can put it in the print and it will print that output for you on the screen. Is it clear, girls? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so with this, I'll close my session by taking the attendance. Please do not leave.